Hey, what's up guys? It's Pelican here, back with another video. Real quick, before we go ahead and get this started, if you can, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's really appreciated. It supports the channel, all the great stuff. So we do have another article here. This one is going to be building budget Machina Springans. So this is basically just going to, be, I guess, going through what he would consider a budget version of Machina Springans. And I'll also be giving you a deck profile once my case does get in. For probably Springans, a lot of the new archetypes that come out of there, especially the Armed Thunder Dragon, I'm really excited for that deck. But yeah, we're just going to go ahead and go through this real quick. This is just like a long intro about usually a bunch of random stuff. I don't usually read those, but so his first paragraph is pew pew pew, but in desert form. Springans didn't redefine summoning from the extra deck in any cheeky ways, but the whole strategy hinges on summoning XYZs via special means. The theme only has on XYZ. Wow, this is written interestingly. In Blazing Vortex, Springan, Ship, Explorer, but any future XYZ monster will hit the field the most easily and most often via field spell, Grand Sea, Goldondo. Let's back up. Great Grand Sea is basically how the deck functions, or at least its very central strategy. Cheekiest moves. It's a highly searchable field spell that turns Springan cards in your hand into free Springans from your extra deck at the sweet exchange rate of 1-to-1. So it basically lets you do 1-for-1 for your getting an XYZ at the deck. While the XYZ monsters you bring out via Great Sandseed come out with no material, the main deck Springans pick up the slack. So Springans Captain Sargus and Springans Bronga are both level 8s that largely swerve the purpose of attaching themselves to your special summon Explorer. But they can likewise search cards and directly pop your opponent's card from the grave and the field. So yeah, I remember reading that a lot of their cards attach themselves to the XYZs. So I guess that's how you'd really go about it. But the main draw is reloading your XYZ. If Captain Sargus and Bronga are in your hand, field, or grave, poof, you have materials for Explorer. Now, both level 8s attach as XYZ materials, so you're great fuel to help with Explorer do its dirty work. They really help circumvent the downside of Great Grand Sea Summon effect. Explorer is quite literally a once per turn just ruin your opponent's life card. You can detach materials from it and blow up that many cards. If you're concerned about Explorer not surviving until the following turn, don't worry, because that's where the second effect comes in. Explorer can actually banish itself to the end phase, then repeat when it's your turn. You'll just attach both level 8s as materials, gain, blow up stuff, and rinse and repeat. So it sounds like you just detach, pop like up to 2 cards most likely, or as many as you can, and then rinse, repeat. It runs away like Omega comes back. So in short, you get to slap your opponent every turn with that destruction effect, and Explorer runs away to save itself. So he says there's more. I'd wager Springans would still be effective even if they only had 3 cards, but the sporting cast for Springans takes it a few steps further. Even the worst card, in my opinion, is so useful. Every card works to cover a different weakness of the strategy, and if nothing else, they're all discard fodder for Great Grand Sea Goldondo. For example, Springan's Rocky gives you back a Great Grand Sea or any Springan monster from your graveyard when you summon it. That's not that bad. Recycling. You can also attach it to a Spring's XYZ from your hand, field, or most importantly grave, even better. So literally, this deck just sounds like field spell, discard, summon XYZ. Effect in the grave? Okay, I'll put it there. Now my XYZ has a material. Even better, Springan's Pedor can special summon a Springan monster, so you don't have to rely on just feeding the Explorer. That's pretty good. So Springan's Watch is basically terraforming Rhoda and Foolish Burial wrapped into one, while Springan's Call and Springan's Blast revive monsters and negate their effects respectively. That's pretty good. One of the things I really appreciate about Springans is the theme's commitment to the boss monster and how it draws off the rest of the theme card. Some strategies don't really make the most of many of their cards, cough Dogmatica, or they cheat a bit with their angle, stupid Virtual World, and their shiny True King of all calamities, but Springans are an all-over-one Explorer, and you're actually rewarded for playing the deck that way. Even if you draw a bunch of Springan cards, you can make Explorer pretty easily and aim 4 deadly bolts at your opponent with the Springan's Blast. And to mix and negate your opponent's retort, you're not even in a bad position. That's pretty impressive for a self-contained strategy. He's not wrong. Mashing in some Machina. So this is where we get the more budget portion coming in, for the rest of the cards. So no disrespect to Dogmatica and I don't even know how to say that word, but strategy. But it's a bit overdone when you mash it with Springans. Granted, Dogmatica was effectively built to merge a Tribegate and Springans theme, but since when have I ever taken that conventional approach? With this build, I want to do something that wasn't so predictable. Machina Fortress is one of my biggest old school favorites. Same. And anytime it seems easy to throw it onto the field of machines, I'm going to try to squeeze it in somehow. Springans don't care if they're on the field, in hand, or grave when it comes time to load up the Explorer with the XYZ materials. In fact, Springans Branga actually benefits from being in the grave, so Machina Fortress can actually accelerate your Springans combo. Simply put, Machinas allow the deck to expand beyond Explorer. Don't get me wrong, Explorer can straight up blow past your opponent with its powerful control effect. It's great, but adding more layers to the strategy can bail you out in some tough spots. If you have Explorer, let's just say it's not an instant win button, of course. It's not fancy, but Machina Fortress works really well in fundamental ways. For starters, it's a big body that can smack your opponent for 2,500. That's true. He's a big, beefy boy that really you can pitch to something, and that's pretty good. But it's also a body for link plays and a pinch. Using Fortress means an exercise to run Machina redeployment, giving the deck the Machina boost that hinges around a field spell. The Machina component also leads Machina Unclasper, another body that works in tandem with Fortress. When you search for redeployment, Unclasper heads straight to the field and sends Machina Fortress to grave, meaning a high-level Springan plus redeployment puts 2 Machina monsters in the field without using your normal summon. That's crazy. That play limits you to machine monsters, but it just happens that Springan's blind spots are covered by machine-type link monsters, most specifically Cleave Genius and Steel Star Regulator. Okay. Destroying things is easy, but dealing with the things the pew-pew approach can't address. That's where Cleave Genius comes in with its handy negation effect. Springan's Blast is great, but the trap card meaning can't solve problems as quickly as you like, but Cleave Genius fills that gap, often a faster, slightly more proactive approach. That's good. And since most of your plays revolve around the Explorer, I wouldn't say it's uncommon to beef up with Great Sand Sea and Springan's Captain Sargus, but the ability to pop monster and burn potentially lethal damage is the last nail in the coffin when you can't just bash your way to victory. And the Steel Star Regulator also does the whole pew thing, but adds an extra layer of burn damage that sorely misses from Springan's Frontal Assault. He says, getting sandy? What? So while you can't quite go as far as include rotation into Void here, I will say your field spell is pretty gosh darn important to the deck, and there's one underused card that's better than its traditional status bad. Typically, a draw and then discard aren't good nowadays unless you can make them work in your favor. So cards like, I guess, Trade and Dark World Dealings will probably be really good in this deck, thinking about it now, especially because you're okay with getting your Springans to grave. That seems like a revolving theme. Wherever they are, you can attach them as a material. So essentially, the field spell is like what you want 90% of the time. So hopefully you'll draw what you need to get to Great Grand Sea. The risk is worth the reward, and I'll be the first to admit it's an uphill battle without that card, because a hand up your Springans monster is exactly what you're looking for. If it wasn't obvious, that's why Machina Redeployment is such a great call. You want to fill that graveyard up with at least one Springan monster. Redeployment doesn't search Great Grand Sea or anything, but you'll need to make Machina plays there for you. The whole razzle dazzle. So it looks like he just goes into it a little bit more. So this deck seems like pretty solid. So right now, I guess what he's really saying, is that you can also put XYZs in there. Similar, like what you can play, what's it called? The Zodiac Engine as well. And then you can also play Megaclops if you really want to. This deck seems pretty fun. I like it a lot. Shout out to this guy, Locust Peterson. I can say that much. Apparently he topped like YCS Toronto back in 2013, but hey. But yeah, this deck seems pretty fun. I will definitely be trying it out, seeing how I like it personally. So when I get my case, you guys will definitely get a deck profile for that, and probably, like I said as earlier, all the other archetypes from that set. But yeah, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Super happy that you can always come this far, and for anyone who did make it this far and isn't subscribed, if you enjoyed it, go ahead and subscribe. It's really appreciated. It helps me out, gets myself known. I'm trying to become a household name, but we'll see. All right. Well, yeah. If you have any other requests, if you see an article you want me to review and all that stuff for the channel, go ahead and let me know, either through the Discord, or you can comment it directly, and I can see about checking it out. But yeah, take it easy.